Hey, you know, the calendar is an interesting thing. If you look at the calendar of what's called the civil calendar, you know, there's 31 days sometimes, and there's 30 days most of the time, and then February has a 28-day period, but every 4 years we have 29 days. And so you say, well, what's up with that, you know? Well, you want to get really confused, try to consider the Jewish calendar, which actually makes more sense because it goes according to the revolution of the earth on its axis is a 24-hour period. And that's a nice even number, 24 hours. And then, you know, so that basically determines our days. Our weeks, nobody argues about that. Our weeks are all the same. Doesn't matter which calendar you're going by, whether the Jewish calendar or the civil calendar. I don't know why they call it the civil calendar either, but that's something else. But then when it gets into the months and years, then it gets really wacky because, you know, that's one of the reasons why we have 31 days, sometimes 30 days others, and all the rest. Well, the Jewish folk, you know, have, well, here's how they base it anyway. And, you know, it makes sense, you know. And in the Bible it talks about the recognizing of, forget that. Because I'm all new to this. I've never studied it and all the rest, and if I talk too much it'll become proven that I've not studied it. But anyways, I do know that they go by according to the moon by the month, which is actually a 29.5 day month, which is the reason for the 30 days and 31 days to compensate for the uneven amount of time. I mean, if it would have been a nice even 30 days and a half, then you can always figure that every month it would be, you know, 60, what would that be? Well, every 2 months it would be 61 days. But because it's 29, well, you got 29 or 28. Okay, how would it be? 29 and 29 is 58 plus one more day by the two halves, so that'd be 59. And anyway, so you end up with a missing day. And rather than try to explain all this stuff, because there's no way to explain it, I mean, you get all whacked, so you have to, you know, throw the leap year in when you're in the civil calendar, but when you're in a Jewish calendar, you have to throw in an extra month now and then to get it all to work out. Well, who knows how God originally ordained it, but I do know one thing. God started to ordain months at the time of the Passover. And it was the first month. And it was called Abib at that time. Now the Jewish calendar calls it Nisan, which is also alluded to in the Bible, where it talks about Pur and Purim, which was around the time of Esther, you know, that was all started and all the rest. But, okay, we're talking about Passover right now. And we're going to talk about the fact that this is the week of the resurrection. And even though the civil calendar and the way that that works with the moon and all the rest is the way that we determine Easter, which I don't want to get into any arguments with anybody because then, you know, people start talking about Ishtar and, you know, Greek stuff and, you know, all that junk. It's like, okay, leave it alone. Let's talk about days and let's talk about a week, which we've already predetermined that there is no argument about that, right? All right, so let's go by the civil calendar where we are in now. And let's take note of the fact that last Sunday's date, as I'm doing this on April 17th, 2011, last Sunday's date was the 10th. And today's date is the 17th. We're all in agreement with that, right? No arguments? Good, good. Now let's look at Exodus chapter 12 and say, And the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months, it shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak ye unto the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of the month they shall take unto them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. On the 10th day of the month, that was last Sunday, we'll say, in this month of April 2011, okay? And then, down in verse 6 it says, And ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. The 14th day of the month. So last Sunday is the 10th. The 14th was Thursday. All right, we're all in agreement on that one too, right? So kill the Passover lamb on the 14th. Then what happened after that? Of course, the Passover occurred where all the things happened where they had to take hyssop, slapped the blood at the top of the door and then on the two side posts. Had to eat unleavened bread for the week after that, starting the next day after that. And then there were a number of other things that were very significant. I mean, every one of them, every one of the events were significant, everything. The Passover lamb, it was mentioned in also Exodus 12 that not a bone of it should be broken. All right, there was also well, that's about it right for now. But let's get back to the days thing. Remember, Moses said that they wanted to take 3 days' journey into the wilderness. Told Pharaoh that. That's what. Okay, 3 days later, after the Passover was slain, what was going on? Well, at the end of Exodus chapter 14, it says that the children of Israel were getting ready to come out of the Red Sea. This was going to be the sealing of the deal with their departure from Egypt. It happened between the night and the morning. They saw the Egyptians coming. They were afraid. God put his pillar of cloud between them and the children of Israel. It was darkness to those who did not trust God, and it was light to those who did, the ones who went ahead. But when it says here in verse 20 of 14, that what I just said, it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel, and it was a cloud and darkness unto them, but it gave light by night to these, so that the one came not near the other all the night. So then what happened in the morning? It says in verse 27, Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to his strength, and when the morning appeared, and the Egyptians fled against it, and the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. In the morning of, well, after 3 days. The 14th was a Thursday. 1, 2, 3 days. 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights. 3rd night into the morning of the 3rd day. Christians know where I'm going with this. Everything was so significant. The blood of the Lamb, the 10th day of the month. Jesus went into the city of Jerusalem on a Sunday. Christians call it Palm Sunday because they took palm branches, they strewed them in the way along with their clothing. On the 14th day, Jesus died, Thursday. You know what also happened on the 10th day? The people in Jerusalem were gathering of their lambs for the sacrifice for Passover. So while Jesus was being received by the city of Jerusalem, they were taking unto themselves into their homes a lamb. On the 14th day, the Jews, the children of Israel, or the tribe of Judah, from what Christ was recognized, was slaying of the lamb as Jesus died on the cross. They placed the blood at the top of the doorposts and on the side, which formed a bloody cross. They used hyssop, which is what was used to take vinegar mixed with gall to put at the mouth of Jesus, which he refused, because that was sort of a mockery. But on the 3rd day, as the children of Israel were coming out of the ground, just as Jesus came out of the ground and rose on the 3rd day in the morning, it says in John chapter 20, after so many other significant events occurred in the mention of John chapter 19, some of those I just mentioned, with the hyssop, the bone not being broken. It said of the Passover lamb, a bone should not be broken of that Passover lamb, in verse 46 of chapter 12. But in the first verse of John chapter 20, just as it says in Exodus 12, 27. Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to her strength when the morning appeared. John chapter 20. The first day of the week cometh Mary Magdalene, early, when it was yet dark, unto the sepulchre. If you have a Reese Chronological Bible, such as we're reading on the channel of YouTube called Family Bible Time, you'll see on page 141 of Exodus, 141, when there's a little portion of Exodus 15 that's posted. Well, actually, most of it is. It says April 17th anyway. They resurrected out of the water of the Red Sea, when their total separation had once and for all came between them and the world, and God sealed the deal on their salvation from the world of Egypt's bondage when they came out on the morning of the 17th. Happy Resurrection Day, everybody. Easter, as we call it in this day and age, has come a little early this week. And by the way, anybody who wants to start any arguments about the notions of Easter, and your comment will be approved on YouTube. But we'll also broadcast into the folks on Livestream today, livestream.com with this, and I appreciate you all stopping by.